think this is an interesting discussion because I recently come from the world of building a business over 37 years. And I've been clear when it comes to unions, they are so important in today's world vis-a-vis large public companies, multinationals. How would you have any countervailing clout unless you didn't have an effective union? I think this is interesting because the restaurant business, I think currently has maybe 3 to 4% of it unionized. And one of the reasons, since I had a small business for 17 years, 15 employees before it grew. And the best avoidance of a union is to treat your employees like family, pay good wages, have good benefits. You do that, you're probably never going to have a union knocking at your door. But we're talking about an industry here that through COVID went through one of the most traumatic events any small enterprise or business has gone through. This is not a small enterprise or business, but it's in a business. It's got a high fatality rate due to the nature of it. I don't know currently what you're paying your average employee on the line. That's going to be the first question, and then what the average pay of senior, middle management, senior management would be. I always thought it was good, as long as you're earning equity in whatever you're doing, that you probably be reasonable there. Don't pull in with a Maserati and all of that. I'd love to know where you're at on that wage stratification first.
Thank you, Senator. The average wage is $17.50. That's higher than the minimum wage of every state in America. With benefits, and the majority of our people take the benefits, that's at $27 an hour. 65% of our managers across the country were baristas, and all in, the manager's salary is about $80,000.
Very good. And then do you have a stratum of management above that?
There's a district manager, regional manager, and I think what we're most proud of is that the majority of people who are managing stores, managing districts, managing regions, started out in our stores. We have hundreds, maybe thousands of beautiful stories that our partners have shared with us about what Starbucks has done for them and their families as a result of the benefits that we created. And those benefits were not created because there was a union. Those were created because of the decisions.
And I think that's important to note. But I think what you represent here is a watershed case because you're large. You generally get large because you're successful along the way. And we've got to be careful because I'm going to pivot to something the other side of the aisle has proposed, is like the PRO Act. And again, I'm probably the most outspoken Republican on the benefit of unions. But you got to be careful where they go. If they're going into the gig economy, into the independent contractors, which is the next chapter on some of this, that will stifle entrepreneurialism. When you look at, if you are large, you shouldn't necessarily be held to account unless there are things that you're doing to impede the law in terms of unionizing. You've already made that point that you don't think you've been doing it. All I'm saying, this is important because this will have a ripple effect way beyond your business. And the one thing we can't have is to suffocate what's made this country great, and that is that you do not necessarily have to wrestle with a union if you do all the things that are good for your employees to begin with. Can you honestly say that you've done that throughout the history of your company, and that I know you have mobility? It sounds like several different ways you can grow. You have no mobility unless you're growing as a company, but have you honestly done that?
Yes, we have, sir, and I wonder if I could just give you one prime example that I think the committee should understand. You know, during COVID, as you said, the restaurant industry was really plummeted. I mean, we had it very, very tough. We had thousands of Starbucks stores closed. Many of our peers started cutting benefits during COVID. Starbucks did not cut one benefit during COVID, and we paid every single partner during COVID with no exception.
What was your average wage before COVID? Because you said you're at about $17 now. starting? Did you have to raise it over the last
We
couple
raised
years?
wages in May, that's correct.
And what was it before?
About $15 an hour, we went to 17.
And one final point, even $17 an hour, that's not a living wage in this day and age. I'm proud that in our company, we pay the highest starting wage in a low unemployment county. And any large corporation shouldn't necessarily be bragging about $15 to $20 wages. When you look at the typical structure of a large company, that should probably be $20 plus, like many Main Street businesses pay. And I think if companies like yours and the larger companies don't do it, you're going to be constantly, grappling with maybe here. But on the other hand, unions shouldn't be trying to get involved in companies that are doing a good job, especially Main Street and smaller ones. I wish we had more time.
Thank you.
We'll leave it at that.
Thank you, sir.
Senator Smith.